What's up, guys? I just want to talk a little bit about the footage that was released. I caught it on Realradman's channel, and I suggest anybody who wants to actually see the video footage, go check out his channel, and then come back if you're interested and hear what I have to say. Those of you who did see the footage, then stick around and you'll hear my thoughts on it. A couple of things really stood out to me. And I have to say right off the bat, my level of enthusiasm is dropping slightly. Okay, uh, I feel like I'm on a roller coaster. I'm really down on these guys, and then they come out and they announce all this stuff they're adding and the features and all this stuff, and I get really pumped up again because a lot of this stuff I was looking forward to and things that I've wanted and asked for. So that made me excited. But then every time I see some footage or any information, and it's like you hear the hype and then you see the reality, and it's the two are not matching at all. I'm not ready to give up, and we haven't really seen all that much. So I'm just going to talk a little bit about the footage we saw and what I consider a big problem with 704 games in terms of marketing. This is not the first time either. Now, right off the bat, we saw footage, gameplay footage, and the problem I have with the footage, okay, it's not so much that visually it's unimpressive. I knew, and I've told you guys, don't expect a better looking game. It's going to be the same. It's going to look the same, okay? But what I did expect to see, I wanted to see the things that made this game different and better than the last game. And you would think that they would market this game and show you all the new stuff and all that. Now, they did show one thing, which was the co-op split screen, okay? But before I get into that, right off the bat, like I said, the game looks it looked almost like they were just playing last year's game. There was nothing that distinguished it. As far as the sound, something everybody's been complaining about, the sound does sound different, but it doesn't necessarily sound better. One thing I could tell you, this doesn't sound like NASCAR. Anybody who's ever watched a race on TV, at some point you get an in-car camera shot of one of the drivers, and you can actually hear the audio inside the car, how it sounds. I don't know what it is. Why can't they get real recordings, right? I'm sure there's some sophisticated audio equipment that can accurately record the sounds of a NASCAR vehicle. Put some of this equipment inside of a car. Let them record some of this stuff. It doesn't have to be during a race, but during a practice session, I'm sure that you can do this stuff, right? I don't understand why you can't get authentic sounding exhaust and engine sounds. They never sound like the real deal, and this has been an ongoing thing since the beginning of NASCAR games. The sound of last year's game was acceptable maybe 12 years ago, and no matter how far we move forward, there just doesn't seem to be enough innovation, enough pushing the envelope when it comes to NASCAR games. I don't know if these guys are just not inspired. I don't know what it is. Why can't you get authentic NASCAR sounds in a game? I don't get it. And I'm not too happy with the way it sounds. It doesn't sound good. So right off the bat, we got one big technical issue that I don't care for. And anybody that thinks that's going to be fixed hasn't been paying attention. There's only 2.5 months, more or less, before release. That's not a lot of time. They're not going to perform miracles in 2.5 months. They should be down close to the polishing stages. So I don't mind seeing a few cars with no paint scheme or whatever, that's stuff that can be finalized. But I'm pretty sure that what you hear is what the game's going to be like. Visually, the graphics is going to be the same. That's what I've been telling you guys. There's small things you could do to polish it up, but really, the game looks the same. Some people claim that it looks slightly better. I don't see it. And I think a lot of that is wishful thinking. It's just you want to believe it, so you start seeing things that aren't there. It looks exactly the same. Even the tack, everything, the way everything's laid out, it's the same game. So there's nothing in this gameplay footage to distinguish it from last year's game. And that's what bothers me. And what bothers me about the marketing is like, if you have a product, you want to show this product at its best. So even though the game's in an unfinished state, there are things you could show us. Now, I know there's time left. They're going to show other things. And, so I am keeping that in mind. But even last year, some of the marketing decisions, to me, were absolute failures. I don't know if some of you saw last year's video that I made, a Twitch feed disaster that it was titled, and my problem was they had a guy who is obviously he has a following. I don't remember what the guy's name was, but he has a following. He's a gamer, but he's not really a NASCAR fan, not really even a racing game fanatic. So you let someone play the game who's really not a hardcore guy into NASCAR. And I'm not attacking anybody who's a casual fan or just whatever. Nothing wrong with that, but you want to highlight this game and let people know, if you're a real NASCAR fan, this is where you're gonna come to get your fix. And they let him try the game out. He had it on his Twitter feed. Then it's somebody playing on a controller. Again, nothing wrong with somebody playing on a controller, but look at games like Project Cars, Gran Turismo, Assetto Corsa, all these guys, Forza. When they show their games, they show them off as them being proud that these games are somewhat of a simulator, right? And even if it's not a full-on hardcore simulator, they embrace the difficulty of being a race car driver. And they show these games off and the gameplay, and a lot of it is in-car cockpit mode, people using wheels and pedals, and it's like 704 games, and Technics used to do the same thing. It's like they show off the game almost as if they're just focused on gearing this towards casual fans. So the gameplay they show you is the AI is set at an easy difficulty, right? So the game looks cartoonish. It doesn't look realistic at all. It makes the game look even worse than it really is. So you see a guy passing 10 cars in like a lap and a half. That's not realistic. That's a joke. And just the pace of it makes it look terrible. Like it's fake. And you can't really tell about the physics or the handling or anything because you're just blowing by everybody. Then a couple of times they ran into one of the AI cars, and these cars go past a 45-degree side spin, but they never spin out. They correct themselves. So I'm assuming everything was set at the easy difficulty, and maybe the AI was set on adaptive, and that rubber banding effect was I don't know. All I know is that when you watch the gameplay, I don't know anyone who walked away from that saying that looked exciting, that looks like fun. I need to check this game out. And that's the whole purpose of this footage. And that's what leads me to say that the marketing from 704 Games is fucked up. Because they did it last year. They're doing the same things this year. They show up at E3, I should say. And they no wheel and pedal setup for people. It's just hand controller. They let the guys at Inside Sim Racing, which was a week ago, whatever it was, and they tried the game out, and the guy was having a hard time describing the game because he was using it with a hand controller. How do you let Inside Sim Racing try this game out and you don't provide a wheel and pedal? You don't set this game up where it's challenging. You're letting people these guys don't use hand controllers. These guys are sim racers. They take this seriously. So you put them in this situation, and then it just looks like people that are hardcore sim racers and they're playing with a toy. And you can tell that they weren't impressed with it. And you did this to yourself. You know, the marketing is a huge failure. So you, who are you gearing this game towards? And it's like you're just focused. You want people to be like, this is for anybody to step in and play, and it's a casual thing. You've made comments about, you know, that last year's game, maybe that in the early part of the career was set too hard. If anything, it was too easy. But you have this dead set mentality of focusing on casual gaming, and the game comes across as arcadey. I know that it's not a full-on simulator. I get it. But you could do better. You could push this game a little more towards simulation. And I was not impressed with the footage at all. And then the only thing you showed that made this look like, okay, this wasn't last year's game, was the split player co-op. Now, my feeling on it is this. I'm happy for you guys who wanted it and asked for it, but I don't think that was anywhere near the top as far as things people wanted. I didn't hear that much about people wanting split player. Some people did, but I didn't hear that much about it. Now, 704 Games, they made it sound like, this was like a big thing. We had to do it because we've been hearing about it. I've been hearing a lot more about the other parts of the game and paint booth and stuff like that. So you couldn't give us a paint booth, but you put resources towards a co-op split screen. Again, I'm happy for you guys. And the one thing I could say in all fairness, it seemed to work flawlessly. So it did what it's supposed to do. But here's my thought on split player co-op. I don't particularly care. It's 2017. To me, that's outdated. Maybe 10 years ago, 7, 8, maybe it's a stretch. Back then, not as many people had internet connections. Not as many people were able to play on online multiplayer, and even online multiplayer was still in the early stages. So it was a big deal if you could have, co-op, and you could play with somebody sitting next to you on your couch. I don't see that scenario being something huge now. There's a reason why a lot of these games don't do that anymore because of the advent of internet. So if you got an online connection and you play online multiplayer usually and you got friends, you're going to be playing them online. They're not going to be sitting next to you on your couch. None of my friends are gamers, so I have absolutely no use for this mode. But just because I don't enjoy it doesn't mean I'm not happy for you guys, those of you who wanted it. But like I said, they focused and put resources towards making that happen. So remember, as for whatever time and money that had to be spent towards making that work, that's that much less time and money that could go to other things. So now they can say, you asked for co-op split screen, we gave it to you. And in all fairness, they did. And it seems to work. So my main thing is, be careful what you ask for. Make sure that it prioritize, get the really important things, let them know what you really want as far as what's most important to you. I don't think a lot of people are going to care about this co-op thing. I really don't. I might be proven wrong, and that's fine. But I think it's a little outdated. So I don't care too much for it, but that's the only thing they showed in the footage that is new. and that says, okay, this wasn't in last year's game, this is new. But the visuals of the game, um, as I've said before, if they can fix the issues plaguing the game, and they can add all these features like they said they are, I don't think the graphics will be that big of an issue for now. And I'm okay with the graphics as long as they can do that. But if the gameplay and this other stuff is just the same as last year, copy and paste, then there's gonna be a fucking problem. And then things like the graphics do kind of just add fuel to the fire. Now, 704 Games needs to realize, whether they want to or not, they are competing with other race games. That may not be their intention. They may not look at it that way. But at the end of the day, that's what's happening. So you have Project Cars 2 coming out. You got Gran Turismo Sport. You got Assetto Corsa out there. You got Forza. All these games blow NASCAR away in terms of graphics, sound, physics, handling. So if you are a casual gamer, you don't even have to be a hardcore gamer, a racer, or a race fan. You look at those games, they're impressive. When you look at the footage, look at any of the recent footage for the upcoming Project Cars 2 or Gran Turismo. The games look light years ahead of what this is. So this game still looks cartoonish. And a big part of the issue is, I think, 704 Games, they haven't made up their mind on what they want to be. And they're trying to appease, NASCAR fans, and they're at the same time they want to try to grab casual fans. I have news for you. Casual fans aren't going to run to buy NASCAR games. Okay? Unless you blow them away with some cool shit like awesome graphics, physics, handling, and then they can see that, okay, look at the career mode. Look at NBA 2K. You don't have to be a super duper basketball fan to enjoy that game. You play that game and it immerses you in the career mode. That's what that game's all about. But it's so packed with content and so much stuff. You could be playing this game for months and you're still seeing new stuff pop up. So this game's missing a lot of that, and I'm hoping that with their announcement and all the features that they do show this to us, and I get excited again. And I don't like this up and down. Like, I was real pumped, but I was still skeptical. But now I'm like, okay, the footage I've just seen, I saw the Inside Sim Racing footage, and then now I saw the footage on Realradman's channel. I'm not excited, man. And that anybody, I don't know how many of you really got excited about seeing that split screen co-op. That's not exciting to me. To me, that's like shit from like a long time ago. I remember that shit in the old days. And back then, not everyone, like I said, had an internet connection. So that was a usable feature. Now, how many people actually going to be sitting there with somebody there playing? I'm sure some of you are, but I don't think it justifies the resources put into making this part of the game that could have went to more important stuff. So I'm a little down on the footage and stuff. Some of it I'm not surprised. Like I said, I expect the game to look exactly like it did last year. That's not going to be improved. But I'm looking for the other stuff that they announced. I want to see, and I'm sure they will show some stuff. But the marketing at 704 Games there's a problem, and it's a serious red flag, because I'm seeing things that I saw last year, and the choices they make, you got to start treating this like a more serious title. The way that Project Cars and Gran Turismo and these people, they treat those games like they're hardcore, they're serious about it. And even when they discuss the game, you could see the passion. And it could be the most mundane thing, like maybe the way the cars sound, how they go about making sure the car sounds authentic. You could see the difference. It's night and day. And then it's with 704 Games, it's like you can't. They don't seem as serious. And I've said this before. I from the beginning, from when they first announced they were making NASCAR games a long time ago, I said I didn't like hearing that they were also going to be focused on making mobile games. Serious game developers don't worry about mobile games. And it just feels to me like 704 Games is always going to be they're going to try to be everything. And I've said this before, when you try to appease everyone, you end up appeasing no one. Because the game isn't hardcore enough for people like myself and NASCAR fans. It's not hardcore enough. And I don't see anything in it that would draw casual fans. Casual fans that don't really follow NASCAR are not going to buy this NASCAR game for what it is now. I don't get it. I think the marketing is really flawed, and I think it's hurting them not to focus more on the hardcore fans and giving us what we've been asking for. And I don't get it, man. I might be wrong about this. I haven't heard too much about people screaming and ranting about wanting the split screen co-op thing. I heard maybe a few times along the way, but certainly not like 704 Games made it seem. They were like, "Oh yeah, we knew we had to do this because people wanted it." Now, what I did know that people wanted, that they did give them, in all fairness, the 3 series. I didn't rant too much about it because for me, they have to get everything else going in the career mode, and the physics, the handling, the way the AI, the pit strategy, making sure that the caution system works properly. Add things like replay and fix the spotter, make it more responsive. There's so much technically wrong with the game that needs to be fixed. And before I could worry about adding more series and more cars, that's why I didn't really focus on it. But I am glad they added it, and that is something that I do think will add something substantial to the game. And if they can tie the career mode in properly, where this all works together and you truly feel that career progression from trucks to Xfinity to Monster Series, and they tie it all together, that will work. But I see so many red flags with this company that I don't have the confidence that they're actually going to get it done. And so far, I see a lot of hype, and most of the hype isn't met by reality. So I'm hoping there's going to be more footage released. I hope that as we see more, it starts looking better and better. But I'm just being realistic, man. I was really, really pumped, and now just being reminded, the game looks so much like last year's game. It doesn't feel any different at all. I don't care for the split screen, so that adds nothing for me. Some of you may have done something for you. For me, nothing. And the sound is horrendous. Why can't you get authentic NASCAR sounds? I'm sure that you can get your hands on some sophisticated audio equipment, and you can get real-time recordings of these cars, how they sound, under acceleration, deceleration, in car, out of the car. For the life of me, year after year after year, and we keep hearing these sounds that sound like they're from games from like over 10 years ago. And you see these other developers like the makers for Project Cars and Gran Turismo, and you see how polished and how much of a finished product those look, and they're still working on those games, and they just blow this game out of the water. And it's sad because as a NASCAR fan, this is all I have on a console. So I'm still looking forward to see what else they show us. But man, the marketing is a huge failure, and it doesn't seem like they've learned from last year. They're still letting people play this game on a hand controller. They're still letting them play this on the easy difficulty. I get nothing from watching these guys blow by these cars in huge packs, and then they run into these cars, and these cars go sideways well past 45 degrees, smoke everywhere, and they don't spin out. I don't know. That stuff just, it's like throwing water on a fire. You're just dousing all the passion right out of me. And I'm trying, man. I'm really trying to be positive. I'm trying to give you guys a chance. And the marketing is a huge failure. And you're not really getting it. You didn't get it last year. Those of you who didn't see my video and you have the chance, check it out. The Twitch feed disaster video. And I'm telling you, man, it's like I see the same thing again. You let these guys at Inside Sim Racing play this thing, and you didn't on a hand controller. And they were very nice about their thoughts on the game. You know, you could tell they really were treating 704 games with kid gloves. I hope that the more info we see now, we start seeing the things that I've been looking forward to. The statistics, which is one of the biggest complaints I've had since NASCAR 2011 from Utechnics. And now finally they've announced stats. I want to see. I hope they have it and it's very comprehensive and it breaks down year by year, career totals for offline career. And then for multiplayer that has its own page and you have your online stats. I hope they really break it down properly. It's not hard to do. That's what I'm expecting. I hope they don't do some rinky-dink, quick last-minute thrown-on stats type of deal. Because I'm gonna be fucking pissed, man. I hate that year after year we have to accept baby steps forward. And I hope that these guys really are holding back and they have a lot to show us. But so far, the little bit of gameplay footage that they've released, I'm not impressed at all, man. You've taken my level of excitement and you're slowly crushing it. So I still look forward, but man, I don't know. I feel like I'm on a roller coaster, man. I'm up and down, and I'm keep trying to give these guys a chance, and they just keep reminding me that I don't know if they know what it takes. And I hope I'm wrong. There's still a chance I'm wrong. But this game is only 2.5 months away. They're in the polishing stages. So any major issues we see now, I'm pretty sure you're going to see them on release date. So they better fix the serious issues with the game, with the AI, pit strategy, the caution system that's broken. I don't know. What do you guys think? And till the next time I have something to talk about, I'll see you guys around.